So let's lead into it. So this is a strategy portion of it. We'll run a replay of the last month here on it and just show you a 24/7 replay on it so we can show you how to do that. Now, to run market replay, the best way, these do not repaint. So this is an indicator and also a strategy. It will not repaint on you, meaning if you get a yellow trigger that comes at entry candle, you can go back and look at it, whether it be 30 days, 90 days, 120 days, whatever. It's not going to repaint on you. So you can use it as an indicator. The indicator will fire a yellow entry candle when it's qualified with an audible alert, or you can use a strategy. Now, the strategy will not fire an entry until this yellow candle is formed. So the yellow candle will form if it's with trend only, and it's got to be inside of my trend zone. So you have to reverse inside of this trend zone, or the strategy will not take a trade. So it can be a deeper retracement inside of my 25 zone here. If it goes deep into the 25 zone and outside of my trend zone and then reverses, you're not going to get a yellow trigger entry. It's only going to give it entry if it reverses inside of my trend zone. So if trend zone's green and price gets inside of it, which it did right there, it closes inside of it, and then it reverses before it closes outside of it again, depending on what Renko size you use, that's when you're going to get a yellow candle that forms, and that's when your speakers will go off and alert you that you have a possible buy setup or sell setup when it's inside of this zone. And the strategy is the same exact way. The strategy will not take a trade inside of these deeper zones, only inside of my trend zone. So that being said, let's get rolling on this and let's see what the strategy can do, and I'll go over exactly how we want to use it. So when you're doing a market replay, you just go to connection. Your connection, and then you're going to go back into playback. So you go to connections and playback. Just go to your connections tab and playback, and then you can play back previous data to see how this would emulate live possible setups that's in the market. So that way you can see when you're getting setups that come in and so on. So for example, when you run the strategy or indicator, like I just said a second ago, is that the strategy indicator will only take trades inside of the trend zone. It's got to be inside of it. Now, this is what's called a confluence trade. This is one of the best trades you can get in our trade room because this is a 25 zone. We have a 25 zone, a 100 zone, a 200 zone. Those are our three main ones. Some of you guys use a 35, which is okay outside of HV and LVA, but your three main ones are your 25 zone. This is a sell zone, and this is our main zone to look for a reversal. That's where they try to pull back, grab liquidity, and then they try to push the market lower. So, but you're not going to get talking about specifically about the strategy. You're not going to get an entry on the strategy unless it comes inside of this trend zone, the red trend zone, and it's only going to take trades in the direction of the break back outside the trend zone. So it can come inside the trend zone and then it closes back outside. Once it closes, this is where the strategy is going to get short. It's going to get short at the close of the Renko size you use. So right now, this is a 1,135. So that means it's going to close 35 ticks. Once 35 ticks forms in a reversal candle, that's when you're going to get a entry. And it's only going to happen inside of the trend zone. But this is confluence because it's happening inside of the trend zone, and consequently, it is also happening inside of my 25 liquidity grab zone because price got inside of my trend zone. You can see this half moon right here. This half a moon. That's called confluence because I'm not only inside of my trend zone, closing inside of it. I haven't closed outside of it. I'm also in my 25 standard liquidity grab zone, which we know the 25 zone, the 100 and 200 zone. You can see week to week to week, you can see how price likes to reverse inside of those standard 25, 100, and 200 are proprietary zones. So, but the strategy and indicator is designed to only show entries when it's inside of my trend zone. So you can see when you get confluence when both are coming together. Okay. So confluence trades, you typically get a nice push. This is a 21 push all the way down to 08 and 3/4. You can see what type of push you get when you get confluence. Now what happens is that when you run market replay, you can adjust your targets, your trail, etc. Now I just have a 3, and you can do micros also. You don't have to do the big contract. It takes up to 1 to 4 contracts. So you can trade up to 1 to 4 contracts. I just have 3 contracts on here because typically a lot of traders trade, 1, 2, or 3 contracts. You can go up to 4 if you want. But your trail right here also, the last target got hit. But this trail, you can adjust your trail. So let's say you have a big trail that's way out of 40 ticks or 50 ticks. Your stop's going to be one of 2 things. It's going to be either your hard stop that you put into this strategy, or it's going to be the trail you put in. Now I got a 28 trail on this. This is a 28 trail, but my targets are only real small targets. I got 4, 8 ticks, 12 ticks as my targets. So if you had 1,000 ticks on this target, this would just continue to trail, and it'd pop you out somewhere around here if you wanted to go a larger trail. So you can, and I'll go over that in a second, on how you can trail as tight as you want, as loose as you want on 1 contract, 2 contracts, 3 contracts, 4 contracts, and so on. So you'll notice that when it gets inside of the trend zone, and we do get a reversal candle, that's when it's going to get a trade setup, meaning that's when the strategy is going to fire, and that's when the indicator is going to fire, and it's going to go off in your speakers. So what happens is that you can also dictate what time you want this to trade. So I have this set for 8:35 in the morning to run to 4 o'clock at night. I want to avoid the 8:30 news because you don't want to trade the strategy through the news. So I'll show you here in a second when I get inside the strategy. You can put it to 8:35 to start looking at the trades. For example, it's not going to take this trade here. This trade's at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not going to take this trade, right? It's not going to take that trade. It's at 8:30 in the morning. So you don't want to take sometimes the 8:30 trades like this to give these yellow trigger entries. The strategy will not fire because my start time is 8:35. That way you can avoid any potential 8:30 news. You can also do it for Fed announcements, at 2 o'clock. You can do it, start trading at 2:05 if it's a Fed day. Or if it's 10 o'clock news, start trading at 10:05 or 10:03. So that way it's only going to take trades inside of the desired time that you want. So you can see this is after hours. It's inside the zone and it's a nice push. But I don't have it trading outside. It's 4 o'clock. This is 4:20 and this is 1800. This is 6 o'clock at night, 6 p.m. Or if you wanted to do nighttime trade and you said, I don't want to trade this from 6 p.m. at night and catch these moves because there's not a lot of manipulation in the market at this time, then you can get you can trade specific hours. Say I want to trade from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at night. Or if I want to trade the London Open, I want to trade from 2:30 to 4 o'clock. You can do that. In other words, the strategy will not trade outside of those hours. So if I look at this when this fired, it's after 8:30. This is a 9:18 that this fired. So it's not going to fire trades before 8:25 because I have it built into the strategy that you can put a specific time when to trade that. Now, for example, let's say you want to trail this position and you want to trail with larger targets. You can do that also. So this trail would keep trailing. Let's say if you have 1,000 tick target or if you have a 50 tick target, what have you, it trail until it would hit its trail. And you can tighten this trail as tight as you want. You can tighten it as tight as you want. And then you also can loosen it as much as you want. So that trail is going to be the best of both worlds on your stop. So you can put 1,000 tick stop in. And what it would do, it would get you out at this trail number, because you're saying, hey, my trail is going to hit before 1,000 ticks. It's going to get you out at that trail stop. So if you put let's say you put 1,000 tick target for your one contract and 1,000 tick stop with a 28 trail. Well, that trail is going to be your exit. It's going to enter off the reversal candle, but that's going to be your exit. So you can do that with a hard stop, and then you can also do that with you can do that with a hard stop, and you can also do that with the trail. So when you get trails like this, you get inside of my trend zone, and then you get this your movement down, right? So it's got to be inside of the trend zone though. So when you see these trades, it's got to be inside of the trend zone before it takes trades. Let's go back here while I was waiting on it to set up here. So in other words, it's got to get inside my trend zone, then the reversal candle. It's got to get inside of it, then the reversal candle, then it will get long or short. And like I said, if you want to do a longer trail, you can tighten this trail up as much as you want, or you can loosen up as much as you want also. So this is another trade that came up at 9:30 in 48 seconds. It won't trade because I have it at 8:35, so it will fire this arrow. So if you're using the indicator will fire this yellow entry, and your speakers will go off saying this candle just closed for a possible entry short if you're doing the indicator, because it will turn yellow and it will only be with qualified inside of the zone. It won't take trades. It's not closing inside the zone and closing back outside of it. And then if you're doing the strat, and the speakers will go off letting you know that that's a trade setup. And if you use a strategy, it's just when you see that yellow candle come up, that's where the strategy is going to get short, right at the best available price. It's going to get best available price. These do not repaint. The slippage is pretty much added into this. So when you run a market replay on these guys, it's pretty much close to what your live trading is going to be if you're going to do this. And we'll get into that also. But let's say you wanted to trail that whole position down. Now, like I said, I only have a 4, 8, 12 tick target here, but on 3 contracts. But if you want to trail it down, let's say you want to trail it down and get outside of these zones. Let's say you want to trail it down outside of this main zone right here. You can trail it outside that zone, and it would still stay short at 63.01 3/4. So it would not pop out of that trade if you're trading outside of this zone. Let's say you use a 62 trail. The 62 trail would get you out right here. So you could hold these runners as long as you want. So that is a exit of 59.5. The entry was 01 3/4. So that was over a 41 point trade. And it won't get in this position because you're already short the initial position. So if you're already trailing and you got this trail set instead of a 28 trail like this, and you got it set to, let's say, 62 outside the 54 zone, then it's going to hold that all the way down. It's not going to take any other trade setups as far as that goes. So that lets you can adjust your trail accordingly, and it's not going to take additional setups if you do that. And you can see that if the zone, all trades from the strategy and the indicator, it's going to be inside of the zone, right? So, and you can see the confluence trades when you get inside my major zone, my other major zone, okay? So that's what you can do. You can look. Now the stop is this. So here's your stop. Let's look at stops. So the stop is, it's going to be the best of both worlds. So I got 1,000 tick stop on this just to show you. So why did it stop out right there? It stopped out right there because I have a 28 trail. So the 28 trail is going to pop me out of that trade, whether you do the micros or if you do the big contract, doesn't matter. That's going to be your trail. That's going to be your trail on your contracts, is it's going to pop you out if it hits that trail. So you don't have to have a specific stop. So let's say you don't know exactly what stop that you want to use, but you know what trail you want to use. You can use the trail as your stop. All right. So this obviously is not going to be a setup because it's at 6 o'clock at night. This will not be a trade setup because it is at 8 o'clock at night. But if you wanted to run those 8 o'clock trades or the 6 o'clock trades like this, because there's not really a lot of manipulation, like I said, on these in nighttime trading, these when the market opens back up, a lot of the volume you see them manipulate price for liquidity grabs back and forth. If you want to trade that, you could just say, hey, I want to trade it at 6:05 at night and to 10 o'clock at night. You can do that and the strategy will run it. Or if you want to trade early morning hours, if you want to trade the London Open right here, London Open's 3 o'clock in the morning, right? 3 o'clock in the morning, US time. So let's say you want to start trading only London Opens and you want to go, hey, I'm a European trader. I love trading the London Open. Then you start the strategy at 2:30 and let it run till 5 o'clock and trade that London push. This is a nice London entry at 88.25, and it got as high as 10. So nice, big, hard push from the London Open. So this is also a confluence trade. It's a confluence trade because our 25 zone is here. It went right down to the 25 zone and touched it, and it was right inside of my zone for the yellow candle. So some traders that email me their charts on all these different markets, the Dow, the Russell 2000, crude oil, all these other markets that this works on, what they'll do is they will wait to see if, let's say you want to cherry pick runs and you will just want to see the largest possible potential run. Well, that's going to be a confluence trade in my 25 zone, 100 or 200 with my yellow entry candle. They'll see if a yellow entry candle will be qualified inside my trend zone, and they'll look for confluence. If it's confluence, they'll look to turn the strategy on and let the strategy run as far as that goes inside of a confluence trade. You can also do that. You can either let the strategy run for a certain amount of hours that you feel comfortable with based upon the Renko size you want to use, or you can actually let it get conflu. Once it gets inside a confluence, turn the strategy on, let it manage your whole position for you. That's totally up to you guys. Like on this one, this is a buy setup, and my 25 zone came right down into it. The liquidity grab. Here's your entry candle right there. Why did it not turn yellow? It did not turn yellow because it broke my trend zone. See, it just broke it by a few candles, but it's still a trade setup. This is our standard zone trade, our 25 zone. So this is our standard 25 zone. Here's our 25 zone. Liquidity grab, came right down to it, took off. 25 zone, came down to it. Liquidity grab, took off. The difference between this trade and this trade, this is a qualified trend zone trade where it got inside of my trend zone and reversed. Never closed outside of it. And it got to my 25 zone. So that's called confluence. So this is called confluence. This is confluence. Where this is a standard 25 zone by itself. Okay. So just make sure that you're aware of that. So when it runs trades, it's going to run trades inside of the trend zone only when it forms yellow triggers or what have you. Okay, only inside of it. So it's not going to run. It's not going to take trades outside of the trend zone. Now, why didn't this go short over here? Because this is after hours. I only have it looking for trades from 8:35 to 1600. So far from 7:28 to now, it's batting just under 90% on its trades from a 4-8-12 target standpoint with a 28 trail. So if you do market replay on this and you use a 1-1-35, then you're looking at just under 90%. Obviously, past performance not indicative of future results. We know that, but it shows you the accuracy between 835 to 1600. You can see the accuracy of the zones. So when you run this, like I said, and I'll get inside the strategy in a second, is you can run this to whatever time you want. So if you want to run it from, like I said, the London Open or only the New York Open, if you want to take the first power hour from 9:30 to 10:30 and from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I have 3 different time sections you can put in, and that's going to optimize your strategy. Why? Because you're trading the most volume hour. Like, this is an 1144 and this is a 206, right? So you don't have to trade the 1104 if you don't want to. If you just want to trade, let's say at 10 till 2 to 10 after 2, you can even do that, because there's a, if you guys notice in the S&P with the power hour and so on, 9:30 to 10:30, 3 to 4 o'clock is a big little potential push. I always talk about power hour from 3:50 to 4 o'clock. If you want to trade that 10-minute window, then put your strategy to set only to take trades from 3:45 Eastern Standard Time to 4 o'clock. It will only take power hour trades, and it'll wait, right? So see here the difference is that this is a trade setup here. This is our standard 25 zone, because with trend, it's a nice sell. That's a beautiful liquidity grab they did. There's your entry. And then it comes down and it gets inside of my trend zone. That's why you get a yellow entry on the indicator. Your speakers went off, or the strategy, it got inside of it. You can see it only take it if it's inside of it. Now this is confluence. That started that big push here. This is a confluence trade, 65.5 down to 45, 20-point move. This is a 20-point move. So if you trail this the correct way, if you want to trail outside of this big zone, then you get a nice little push. But this started it right there for that big push. Why? It's confluence. It's inside of my 25 zone, my standard sell zone, that where they like to grab liquidity. They love to reverse price inside of these zones. So these algorithms do. So there's my sell zone, but consequently at the same time, it reversed inside of my trend zone. This is the best trade you're going to get in the room, because you're getting confluence. These are trades where we're not looking to scalp the market. We're looking for 10, 15, 20, 25 point potentials, because it's confluence. Now this next one is not confluence. It just about made the team, but it's just a regular sell setup inside my 25 zone. You can see it closed by one candle outside. If it just closes by one candle outside that trend zone, it's not going to give you a yellow entry candle. Does that mean it's not a trade? No, it's a trade, because it's a deep liquidity grab inside my 25 zone. It's just not a confluence trade. This is confluence. This missed it by one tick on confluence. Okay, so big difference as far as that goes. And you can see it here. If it just closes one candle outside that, there you go. Now, let's talk about that. What if you want to widen your zones? This is a 54-38 zone, which I'll get inside the strategy in 1 second. Okay, this is a 54-38 zone. It's a 54-38 zone. So what if I want to widen this out to get these? Because this one just missed it by a tick going short. And this one missed it by a tick going short. You can widen this zone out. Widen this zone out and do a strategy test. Now let's do a widen it out, and I'll show you how to do it inside the strategy in a second. You can widen your zone. Bring it higher a little bit so you're inside this 25 zone too. So instead of using a 54-38 zone, I can use, let's say, a 62-28 zone. It's totally going to change your dynamics of your strategy. It's totally going to change your performance by changing the zone. All right, so you can do that if you want to get into a wider zone to get more setups. Or what you can do if you want to get into zones that, if you want to get into more shallow zones, like this is a confluence trade right here. This is inside my buy zone, my standard liquidity grab buy. There's my buy. I think these are very leading. This came up at 12:17 and the buy was at 141. It gave you a whole hour and a half to get ready for this buy setup. And this is also inside my trend zone. So this is a confluence trade. But look at the move you get. You get a move into the close that was 12 3/4, high as 26. So another 12, 13 point push into the close because it's confluence. you're getting a yellow entry candle that's inside of my trend zone, and consequently it's inside of my deep zone also. So let's get into the strategy a little bit. And let's take a look inside of it a little bit, how you can adjust this. So you can adjust the times, like I said. So I have a start time 1, start time 2, start time 3. You can adjust your windows. So I have it from 8:35 here because you don't want to trade this strategy during news. So have it start trading, before news and then stop it. Or if you just don't want to get caught into news with this, have it start trading at 8:35, right? 8:35, it can start trading, right? See right here, this yellow entry candle right here that came up. That's not 8:35. So it's not going to give you a strategy entry. It'll still show on the indicator, right, around the clock. The indicator will show you 24 hours a day when these biceps come, but that was a confluence trade, actually. Confluence inside my 25 zone, also my reversal zone. That's a nice trade. 22 as high as, 30, almost 8 S&P points. But my point is you can put 8:35 to, let's say, 11 o'clock. That's one zone. The next zone you can have, why do I want to trade the noon hours? Let's trade when the market likes to come back and start showing volume, which is 12:45. Let's trade 12:45, and let's trade that window to 2:30. And then I want to trade the close. Let's trade it from 3:45 to 4 o'clock. So you can trade those windows as far as that goes. Here's another confluence trade that happened. That's that time of day trade I talk about, 3:45 to 4 o'clock. We see this nice push window dressing into the close. You could just trade this. You don't need to run this strategy 24 hours a day when you're not watching it. That's a worse thing to do. That's the worst thing to do. Your performance on this strategy can be, right now we're batting right around just under 90% since I've been running this. Okay, so, and I'll show you in a second on the performance when this thing's done. It's almost done. So that's from 8:35 to 4 o'clock though. But let's say that you want to do different windows, right? You want to trade different time frames. Meaning here it doesn't start trading. That's at 8:30 in the morning. You don't want to trade this 8:30 when news comes out. Look at 8:30 when news comes out. Or maybe you do, but I wouldn't do that. But look at the 8:30. Yes, it gave you a buy signal, and it will hold in these targets on a 1-135. You will get fills on the 1-135. It won't shut down because I made it so it doesn't shut down with news. So it will run these trades if you want to scalp the market with news. I'm just telling you, I highly educate traders not to run through news, but to each its own. It will run through this news event. But I got to start trading at 8:35 right there, right? It's inside of my trend zone, takes off. Inside my trend zone, break retest. We know break retest trades work well. Inside the trend zone, start that move down. Inside the trend zone, start that big hard move up. Now, if you wanted to trail, like I said, loosen your trail up. If you want this trail to trail outside of the zone, you can have it in the middle of the zone if you want. Put it in the middle zone. Put like a 45 trail or a 50 trail. It will trail all the way up. It will still hold you long and got you out at this trade, got you in at 29.5, and then popped you out at 65. Okay. So when you look at this strategy, you can dictate when this trails. It's going to optimize your performance on these windows, trade windows, right? You can try different trade times. Let's say you want to try to just from 8:35 or the power hour from 9:35 to 10:35, that 1 hour window. And from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, that 1 hour window. Your performance can be optimized by just changing your start and stop time. Now let's go over the kill switch. The kill switch is kill start time. I leave it from 1:30 to 1:31. All that means is it's not going to run trades in between the kill time. So if your kill time is during, if you have it on, it's not going to run any trades at all. So I just have it running for 1 minute at night. You guys can do that if you want, but you're already doing this already with your start and stop times. This is for traders who don't want to trade into news and saying, hey, I don't want to have this thing trading from 8:25 to 8:35. You can put the 8:25 in there to 8:35. And any new positions will not be taken in between that kill zone. Okay. I have a target of 1, 2, 3, and 4 ticks. And then I also have my trail. So the trail is going to be, you can adjust your trail. Right here is a 28 trail. But if you want to widen this out, this is a 54-38 zone. Like I said, you can change your zone up here, guys. Another way to optimize this strategy is change your zone. Just by changing your zone and changing your start and stop time, your strategy can be totally optimized, because what you're doing is you're only trading a certain amount of times during the day, and you're trading during volume hours. So by doing that, it helps out a lot. Now, you can also change your trend filter. If you want more trades, go to 1-165. If you want this smoother, go 1-1-150. It'll really smooth it out. This can be optimized also. I leave the speed period at 100. You do not need to optimize this. Speed candles at 0. Do not need to optimize this. You can, what we show in the room is a 54-38. The 54-38, if you go back, which I'll show you right now, it's batting right around 88 to 90% the last month on these zones. That's what's batting right now on the big. This is a big contract. You can run the small one also, and this from 835 to 1600. You do not need to optimize period D1 all the way through the bull bear 40-65s. Everybody who knows me in the trade room, you know what that's about. It shows strength and weakness. It helps out with my buy and sell signals. The only things you need to, if you want to play with the strategy to optimize your performance, you can change your zones to smaller or larger to get more or less trades, and you can trade your times to only times you want. You don't need to do all this stuff is optimized for you already. All this stuff is optimized for the past 30 years as the best parameters to be in there. So you can change the 54-38 to tighten it or loosen it. It's going to affect your performance, and then your start and stop times. Obviously, you have break even +1 you can use. I have it off tier, so when I'm running this since the 28th, I just got done. So I'm going to show you the results on this. I ran this from here to here just now, and I used without break even. So in other words, if you want break even, you want to go to the first 12 ticks and break even. The break even is going to be on the second target. The second target has to hit before it'll go break even. The reason I do that, you know how a lot of traders always get stopped out after their first contract's off with break even +1 at 4 ticks. Using it as a second target, it lets it breathe more. Okay. Remember, if you use your stop ticks, it's the best of both worlds. And so if I have a hard stop, let's say of 20 ticks, then if it hits my 20 ticks, it's going to stop out before hitting my trail, right? So I can have my stop lower than my trail. So I can put the stop at 20 ticks or 20 ticks here, but leave my trail at 28 or leave my trail at 62. Then whatever hits first hits my 20 tick stop or my 15 tick stop or my 12 tick stop or my trail. It's a best of both worlds. I made it so it's best of both worlds to optimize to fit your strategy. So if we go into then, if I look at, let's take a look at the performance. But listen, past performance is not indicative of future results. You know, I just want to show you how these zones work. So I ran it the last month from 728 to 815, a little bit under a month actually. And so the strategy batted just a little bit under, what was it? We're 88% on the strategy. So let's take a look at the strategy. So when you go into this, you can see, let's say you use a prop firm, using a prop firm on Apex or Top Step. There's so many different prop firms out there you can use. What you want to concentrate on is you want to concentrate on your max drawdown. So this is 4 contracts on the big contract. 4 contracts on the big contract. So the micros will be 1/10 of that. Now let's say you want to do more than 4 contracts on the micros, right? Because 1/10 of the big contract. Just add the strategy in twice, 3 times, 4 times on the same chart or a different chart. It will do the same thing. You can do as many contracts as you want with strategy. It'll only take 4 at a time though on the current strategy. But so if you were to do, let's say if you were running the micros, let's say this is the profit that it had with the big contract. This is your max drawdown that you had. So if you're trading let's say an Apex account, you're trading a $250,000 account. Well, they got a $5,000 drawdown. I mean, you were well within that limit. Let's say you trade the $50,000 Apex account. You're within a $3,000 drawdown or $2,500 trail drawdown, I believe. You're still well within those limits. So this will the standard 5438 that we use is suffice for this, right? So when we go back into it, so you can, when you're doing prop accounts, then you can see what your average drawdown though it is now. So that way they have a trailing drawdown, and they have a consistency rule. So where you have to, you need to have certain trades. I think Apex is now you can have $50 or more. I think their new rule is at least $50 or more in a trade profit consistently every single day for 8 trading days, I believe it is, before you get a payout or what have you. Have to look at the current rules, but that's how it used to be. And they have a trailing drawdown also. So in other words, if you trade a $50,000 Apex account, they're going to have a $2,500 trailing drawdown from the peak of your performance. So if you get a cut as high as $57,000, there'll be $2,500 from that $57,000 limit. So, but that's how you can do it. You can optimize this stuff. So you can see it batted around just over 88% the past almost a month inside of the zone only. Now this is the 1/135. You can use other Renko sizes, which we're going to get into members. With members, I'm going to get into that more. I want to give you the basics, how this works, how you can optimize your strategy if you're doing prop accounts, if you're doing your own account, if you're doing micros. This is a great start for you. So if I go back into it, let me show you real quick. If I go back into the strategy, I'm at a 50. I ran this strategy under a 5438, guys, for you members. I ran it under a 5438 with a 1/100. This is what I show in the trading room. I want to do a video of exactly what I show in the trading room, that it runs 23 out of 24 hours a day. It's a 5438. It's batted just over 88% over the past almost a month on trades inside of the zone only. And this is not even confluence trades. It would be more optimized even inside of the confluence trades and inside of my zone. This is just inside my zone. I have a time from 8:35 to 1600, cherry picking that time frame only. The stops here were the targets were 4. I had a 1,000 tick stop at the 28 trail, meaning I was just relying it on to get me out of the 28 trail for a stop. It's going to default the best of both worlds. I had a 4, 8, 12, 20 target, but I only did 3 contracts here. You can go back and test this also and say, hey, I want to put a 1,000 tick target with a 1,000 tick stop and adjust my trail. It only take 1 contract on the micros or the big contract, which works out quite well. Also, because you're getting big runners only, your reward to risk is quite nice because it's only looking for big runners with a wider stop. But this is how you want to optimize, how you want to find out what you want. I'm showing you what I show in the room, right? So if you were to take trades from 8:35 the past 3 weeks, almost a month, inside this trading room on every single trade from 8:35 in the morning to 4 o'clock at night, that's the type of results you're getting. We're batting just around, like I said, past performance, not indicative of future results. It just shows you how well the strategy can work. It's right around 88%. So for that type of parameters. Now, like I said, you can optimize your parameters by changing your trail and also your targets and also your time. And if you want to get really into, for you guys that really love strategy trading, you can change your zones to tight or loose zones. You want more trades? Loosen this up. 62.28, you're going to get more trades. It's a wider zone. You want to get tight and you want to be more accurate? Tighten the zones up. Tighten the zone up. Let's say you want to only do shallow zones or 25 zones. Tighten this zone up to a 32.25. 32.25, it's only going to take these really shallow trades that will affect performance. Gerald, go shut that off. So put that on the members download page. This is a good start for you guys on seeing how this works. I wanted to run the same. Exact zones that we run in the room to show you that these are very accurate zones. but you can change the parameters. You don't have to use the exact zones that we use in the trade room. Let me get the live data up here. We use the exact same zones on that playback, right? You want to change your Rinko. So that all being said, you can change your Rinko size too. This is a 1/135 because we want to show you how you can emulate what the room is showing you on a day-to-day basis.